Good afternoon. My name is Alex Ramft.
And I'm Justice Colvin, and welcome to our specialty football show for the Final Four matchup taken on this Friday. It's going to be an Arlen Field and Mansfield, which has been known to not be the greatest of fields, but there's brand new turf. I am so excited to see the Lakewood St. Edward's Eagles taking on our very own schools, Olentangy Orange Pioneers. Boy, am I excited. Let's just break this one down. We'll start off here. So both offenses have looked absolutely fantastic this year. Orange is averaging 36.5 points per game. On the other hand, the Eagles are averaging around 38 points per game. So both the offenses are lethal. Now, both these offenses also depend on the run game with Lucas Fickle and Levi Davis, that dynamic backfield that we've talked about this entire season has been the charger, or has been the catalyst for why Pioneers have done so well on offense this season. It opens up the pass game and so many other aspects of the game. Braden White for St. Edward's has been electric this year. He has been the main running back. Look out for him, especially behind that enormous O-line. So, Alex, what are you seeing in this one?
Yeah, and this year, obviously, St. Ed's, perennial powerhouse. They're always one of the best teams in the state. They have 7 state titles in the history of their school. Orange, obviously, 0. Never made it even to a regional final, but looking to go ahead and try to make a run towards their first ring. This is going to be an amazing game. It's going to be really cold. You're going to need the run game. Levi's hands are going to be cold. St. Ed's, everyone's going to be tight coming into this game. They're not going to be able to play as freely as they would like to. And with it being this cold, the pass game might not be there as much as either of these teams are hoping for. So it's going to be a run-heavy game. It's going to be one in the trenches, where St. Ed's is, I think, a little better and a little bigger in the trenches. But there's not a lot of hype around the St. Ed's team. A lot of people want Orange to come in and take down this private Catholic school. Public schools in football in Ohio have really not won anything besides last year, obviously Liberty going and winning the state title. This game is going to be won by defenses. Orange, one of the best defenses in the state. You got so many stars: Aiden Scott, Brennan Kessler, Trayton and Zane in the secondary, Kingston in the secondary, Colby back there at safety. That they have just been blowing everybody up. Colby, a sophomore, has been playing great back there, replacing Connor Stevens from last year, who was an elite player. This defense will play together. I think they might continue their streak of letting up less than 20 points a game. I don't see St. Ed's getting a lot of offense in this game. Braden White, obviously phenomenal running back for them, but I don't see him getting as much production as they would hope, and I've got Orange.
And yeah, the biggest difference that you see between these two teams, we're talking about the size of that O-line and D-line that St. Edward's has, but what Orange is able to do on that defensive side to make up for that is just sheer numbers. They have up to an 8-man box all the time up there, especially with they only have 3 defensive linemen. They're actually on the defensive line, and then they normally can move Kingston Johnson, Brennan Kessler, even throw Dane Barklow in there, and all these different linebackers who all cycle in and out, because that linebacking core has been phenomenal this season. It's has a lot of depth to it. They're able to play a 3-5 in that front. With only 2 corners and 1 safety back, and just talking about Colby. So, and then Zane and Trayton on the outside. So, and I think they're able to do what they're able to do on that defensive line solely because the secondary is so good. In man-on-man coverage, there is none better. There is not a duo better than Zane Konzak and Trayton Schrader this season. They have been elite. They both had games where they had multiple interceptions. Trayton, obviously, last game by that time the game was over, but had that game ceiling pick. Colby had a pick in that game. Zane has had 2 interceptions this season as well. So the secondary allows that defensive line to play really close to the line of scrimmage and take out that run game. Really, the only time we've seen them struggle with the run game was against Liberty a little bit in that playoff game just last week. Or 2 weeks ago, which they did struggle a little bit, but they were able to rally and still they held them to 17 points. And that's pretty dang impressive, and that's the most amount of points they've lit up this season as well. Defense has been elite. I mean, Kingston coming off the edge, and Brennan Kessler with his 5-sack game, and breaking all the sack records. It's insane. I think even though the defensive line is a little undersized for Orange, they have enough guys in the front to be able to overwhelm with numbers in that front. And I think that they're going to be able to force the quarterback for St. Edward's, who is not the most elite talent that St. Edward's has ever had at quarterback, to start throwing the football. And that's where Pioneers win. That's when you force turnovers, and that's when you force them to play in a quick having to throw the ball down the field, and that's when the Pioneers are going to win the game. So I think honestly the matchup overall favors the Pioneers, especially on the offense for St. Edwards and the defense for the Pioneers.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to highlight is that this pass game for Orange might not be able to get going. St. Edwards, a wonderful secondary. They have Braden Thomas and Mekhi Boone, Power 4 3-stars in their secondary, that they're going to be able to kind of take away this deep pass game that Levi is so elite in. Obviously, one of the greatest deep ball accuracies I've ever seen from a high school quarterback. He knows how to get it down the field. He knows how to make space for himself to let his receivers get far. But I do think this St. Edwards secondary is going to be able to take a lot of that away, which is what Orange has kind of leaned on after the run game goes away. Obviously, we saw it in Pick Central, right when the run game was kind of getting stopped for a little bit. They went deep, got a couple big plays. But I think Orange tries to repeat what they're doing against what they did against Pick Central. Obviously, an absolute throbbing of Pick Central at Historic Crew Stadium. And that was another game where weather was a huge factor impacting what the Neers could do. And obviously, they got it done on the ground. Levi had that over 70-yard touchdown he ran, and then the next drive had another one, but it got called back. The Orange rushing attack, I think, is just going to be too good for this St. Edwards defense. So I think Orange wins it on the ground.
Yeah, and even if Fickle is struggling a little bit, which of course they're going to get stops on the run game. With these two elite schools, you made it to the Final Four for a reason. I mean, we can take a look back at who all the teams have played. Both have gone through an absolute gauntlet, and you have to get here. So obviously you're going to have third and longs and that type of stuff. But that is where I think something that Levi has that not a lot of quarterbacks have is that ability to run out of the pocket, the ability to scramble. When plays break down, Levi's legs, he's faster than most of the players, and he's also pretty dang strong, especially for his size. And I think that's an X factor that Pioneers can take advantage of, because you take away the inside run and running between the tackle, in between the guard and the tackle, up the gut, that hard-nosed football. Well, the Pioneers, with the speed that they have from Levi and also Lucas, who is the fastest 100-yard dash here at Orange, taking it out of the outside is going to be where the Pioneers are able to get some wins. And great block. I mean, Zane and Trayan, who also play receiver, are great blockers. Getting that outside, I think, is going to be where the Pioneers can really gash some big runs, and that will force the St. Edwards to spread out. They play a lot of cover zero, so they don't play a lot of safety. They depend a lot on their corners, a lot like Orange does. Put a lot of faith in them. But that's going to spread out the defense and allow you to run the football a little bit more effectively up the gut. So I think that it's going to be a really low-scoring game, I predict. Yeah. I think there's going to be field position is going to be huge. I think the weather is going to really mess with throwing the football. I expect a lot of turnovers and a lot of just messy play. But I do think overall, I think the matchup, especially with St. Edwards offense versus the Pioneers defense, I think favors the Pioneers. So I would have to agree with you. No bias here. Pioneers going to win it.
Yep. And now we're moving over to the other side of the bracket, the Region 2 versus Region 4 game. We got the Middletown Middies and St. Xavier Bombers going to Dayton to play at Welcome Stadium. So this game is really interesting. If you asked anyone at the start of the season, no one was expecting either of these two teams to make it this far. Middletown, obviously, a really solid team, lots of solid players, but have a couple shaky losses this year. Obviously lost to 4-7 Hamilton and 7-5 Lakota West, who both did not end their season in great ways. But they did beat a really solid offensive Wayne team in the regional final 21-14, which that game was an exciting second half. It was tied at zeros at the half. But this game is going to be real interesting. It's going to be decided by defense, most definitely, with how many stars both of these teams have on that side of the ball. This is going to be a great game, really exciting game. I think there's going to be a lot of fumbles, and I think that St. Xavier might end up just being a little bit better than Middletown.
I mean, you're looking at the losses because St. X has had some tough losses against Moeller, which is a perennial powerhouse again, a lot like St. Edwards, and Elder, who most people, if you coming into the OHSAA tournament, thought they were the number one team in the country, and rightfully so. They had an elite defense and elite offense, and lo and behold, they had to face in the Elite Eight. They had to face against St. Xavier, and that game was phenomenal. They were up 27-7, I believe it was, and then it was 27 straight points the other way for St. Xavier to get the win at Paycor Stadium. It was electric. So I do think when you look at the losses and you look at overall who's the more accomplished team, it has to be St. Xavier when you're looking at it from a resume standpoint. But I'm looking at Middletown's got some great players, especially Derek Singletary, definitely one of the stars on that defensive line. 15 sacks. I mean, it's insanity. 4 forced fumbles as well. He's a monster on the edge. And then, of course, you got Jordan Van, elite safety. He's going to Michigan State. And Singletary is going to Rice, which these are both really good schools for football. So obviously some elite play on that defensive line or defense and it's also going to be really cold there too. So I definitely think these defenses will shine a lot like Orange and St. Edwards. So I honestly kind of see a similar outcome to what we're going to see in Edwards versus Orange. I do think St. Xavier is going to get a little bit bigger of a victory margin. I think it's going to be. I'm not going to say it's easy because obviously these are two good teams, but I definitely think St. Xavier is the more talented team. They've been here. That's the other thing. They have the experience. They have 4 state titles.
Yeah.
So out of the 4 teams left, they're the only other one with state titles. A lot of them are recent. And also we were talking about earlier Jackson Frey. He has been phenomenal down the stretch, especially the last couple games. He's been throwing for over 200 yards and multiple touchdowns in each of those games. 12, I believe, in the last 5. And they've really upped their points per game in offense, which was a little bit slow in the beginning of the season. Now it's up to 23. But I do think that they win, I would guess around a 23-13 type of game. I think a dogfight, but I do think at the end of the day, St. Xavier's talent will shine through.
Yeah, and this St. Xavier defense is elite. You have 4 3-stars listed linebackers but they can play all over the defense. They can rush the passer. They can get great coverage. This is going to be decided, obviously, like we said, on the defensive side of the ball. St. X is just elite there. Power 4 guys all over the field where you look. They were able to shut down Moeller in the playoffs, only gave up 13 to Matt Ponataski in that elite offense. And we're able to shut down Elder in that comeback win, against Elder in the regional final to take it 42-34, which Elder had one of the best defenses in the state. And they gave up, and St. X, who isn't really a highly touted offense, but they're just a really solid overall team, scored 42 on them. And that was a shock. I feel like a shock to everyone. No one really expected Elder's defense to kind of crack as bad as they did. And it has just been amazing last couple games for this St. Xavier team. I think that they roll with their momentum, and I think they do take down the Middletown Middies.
I think it's the first time we agree on both of our picks. Now we'll see if I'm sure we agree here. So now I'm going to cycle into a little bit bigger football game just outside the state of Ohio. We got the game. Ohio State versus Michigan is to take on this weekend, so we'll transition to college football. Boy, am I excited for this one. Also very nervous. Obviously, Ohio State's coming off of 4 straight losses to Michigan, especially after last year winning the national title after it. And a lot of us could argue that is the catalyst that allowed them to do what they did in the playoffs. This one's going to take place in Ann Arbor. Obviously, the Ohio State, they're going to be favored in this one heavily. Clearly the more talented team, but I don't know. We'll see if Michigan, it's going to be a cold game. We'll see if Michigan's able to, just use their physicality to get the win. Yeah, and this game is going to be elite. Obviously, there's some questions around these Ohio State receivers. Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate have been dealing with some injuries the past little bit, and they both of them are questionable to play. Jeremiah Smith said he thinks he's going to be good for Saturday, so we'll have to keep following that. But this Ohio State team, there hasn't been a single moment where they have struggled in a game. It's been domination the entire year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Somehow, after last year, the defense got better. I don't know what happened there. Obviously, Jim Knowles left. We all kind of expected the defense to fall down after such a good coach left. And we got an even better one in Matt Patricia. He has been dialing up some insane plays. He's been also giving more of a pro-style defense, which the only reason that, which usually doesn't work in college, but for Ohio State, with the talent they have on the defensive side of the ball, obviously, Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese, that whole defense has just been playing amazing. They've been playing out of their minds. Obviously, goal line defense been the best in the country as it has been the past 2 years. So this is going to be a hard-nosed football game. It's going to be a tough and gritty game. I think it's going to rely on who wins on the ground, which both teams are really solid on. But I do think Ohio State does have a little bit better of an offensive line. I think they have a little bit better running back room. Maybe not as many stars running the ball. Especially
as
Justice
Michigan
Haynes
does.
being out with injury, and Jordan Marshall coming off of an injury too. So Michigan will be struggling a little bit on that depth piece, having a freshman coming at running back. So, yeah.
But yeah, Bo Jackson, C.J. Donaldson, James Peoples, all helping in the rotation for Ohio State. This year also, there's been a lot of traditions that have been moved around to get the guys in the right mindset for Ohio State to go and play in Ann Arbor. Obviously, a lot of the special senior activities and a lot of the special Michigan week stuff been moved to some bye weeks so that they can just act like it's a normal game this week and just really be ready to go into Ann Arbor.
Yeah, score this beginning to me is 24-13, so that'd be my prediction. What is yours here?
I think I have 35-21 Ohio State. Sorry. This Michigan team, it's always a good game when Ohio State plays Michigan. Ohio State's never going to play up to what their 100% potential is, and Michigan is always going to play up to Ohio State when they're in years they're not as bad. Obviously, Bryce Underwood for Michigan is going to be a factor in this game, which he has played solid recently. Obviously, the start of the year there was a lot of questions whether he was worth his paycheck, his NIL paycheck or not. He's going to be a big factor in this game. I think he's one of the only spots on Michigan or one of the only players on Michigan that's able to kind of generate offense for them. So I see Michigan jumping out to an early lead, but I think Ohio State is going to reset in the second half and be able to kind of roll through in the second portion of the game.
I hope for everyone that's an Ohio State fan that does happen, because I do not think that we can all take a fifth loss. So that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for tuning in to The Grit, and thanks for seeing this special portion football show. This Thanksgiving break, there's a lot of football to watch, so make sure you kick your feet back after eating some turkey and ham and all that good stuff, and watch all these football games. And we'll see you next week right here on The Grit.